Hello and welcome to Euroasia. I am Zuleika Zaman. Here are your top stories from Europe and Asia of this week. International action diverted the missing Malaysia Airlines plane after its communications were cut, according to Malaysia's Prime Minister. Najib Razak was speaking shortly before it was reported the pilot's house was being searched by police. Mr. Razak stopped short of saying flight MH370 had been hijacked, despite a government official earlier saying this was the case. The official said they had gone to collect evidence that could help with the investigation. In this period, the aircraft changed direction and passed back over the Malaysian peninsula towards the Indian Ocean. Data confirmed an unidentified aircraft that later appeared on military radar of Malaysia's west coast before going out of range at 2:15 am was MH370. The search, which involves 14 countries, 43 ships and 58 aircraft, now includes 2 corridors. The first is a northern corridor from the border of Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan through to northern Thailand, and the second is a southern corridor from Indonesia to the southern Indian Ocean. Investigators say the missing Malaysia Airlines jet was hijacked, steered off course and could have reached Pakistan. The search operation has now been focused on 2 corridors, one which extends from northwest from Thailand to Kazakhstan-Turkmenistan border and the other which opens out into the southern Indian Ocean. The representative said that hijacking theory was now conclusive and police are now believed to be searching the home of pilot Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah in Kuala Lumpur. Mr. Kerry said the US was deeply concerned about Russia spending troops to the Ukraine border and in Crimea. Mr. Lavrov said Moscow would respect the result of Sunday's referendum in Crimea on whether to join Russia, but Mr. Kerry said that US would not recognize it. After 6 hours of talks between the two men, Mr. Lavrov told reporters that Russia had no plans to invade southeastern Ukraine. He said that the US had not changed its position on the illegitimate referendum in Crimea and would not recognize its outcome. However, he said his Russian counterpart had made it clear that President Vladimir Putin was not prepared to make any decision until after the vote. The Secretary of State said that he had told Mr. Lavrov that there would be consequences if Russia does not find a way to change course. Russia's military intervention in the Crimean Peninsula, part of Russia until 1954 and host to its Black Sea Fleet, followed the fall of Ukraine's pro-Moscow President Viktor Yanukovych on 22nd of February. Unions have responded with anger to a news of fresh round of below-inflation pay rises for NHS staff in England. Ministers have announced a basic 1% pay rise, but the 600,000 nurses and other staff receiving automatic progression in job increases typically worth over 3% will not get the 1% as well. The main health service unions in England said they would consult members on taking industrial action. Members of the armed forces, prison officers and judges are due 1% rises. The Consumer Prices Index, measure of inflation, is currently at 2% and the NHS pay review body had recommended that all NHS staff should get a 1% pay rise, whether they were also entitled to progression pay increases or not. The Scottish Government has said it will adopt the NHS pay review body's recommendations in full, meaning that all NHS staff in Scotland will receive that 1% pay rise. In addition, NHS staff in Scotland earning under £21,000 a year will get a £300 rise. Banksy, Idris Elba and Elbow are just some of the stars who are supporting the With Syria campaign that will see thousands of people across the world, from Moscow to Washington, stand together in a global vigil to mark the 3rd anniversary of the crisis in Syria on Thursday, 13th of March. Iconic locations across the world will be bathed in light by candlelit vigils and Banksy-inspired light projection using his artwork. There is always hope. which he has redesigned to feature a young Syrian girl holding a red balloon, and the release of thousands of red balloons carrying messages of hope to Syrians. Syrian Voices have joined a coalition of over 100 humanitarian and human rights groups from 34 countries, including Save the Children, Oxfam, Amnesty International, Islamic Relief and the International Rescue Committee, to simultaneously launch a pledge for world leaders to commit to making this the last anniversary marked by bloodshed. Full humanitarian access would help injured and sick children receive the medical care that they need. The UN resolution on access must be implemented. The government has announced that the national minimum wage will increase by 19p an hour to £6.50. The new rates will be implemented in October and will benefit 1 million workers. Business Secretary Vince Cable said he had accepted a recommendation from the Low Pay Commission that the minimum wage should increase by 3%. It is the first time in 6 years that the rise will be higher than inflation. The rate for 18 to 20-year-olds will go up by 10p to £5.13 an hour, a 2% increase. The rate for those aged 16 and 17 will rise by 7p to £3.79, also a 2% increase. Apprentices will earn an extra 5p an hour, taking their wages to at least £2.73. The Consumer Prices Index rate of inflation is currently 1.9%. Meanwhile, the man who set up the minimum wage 15 years ago said it is in need of major reform. The latest rise means the national minimum wage is still well below the definition of low pay, as set by the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development. This equates to two-thirds of the median full-time hourly wage, about £7.71 an hour. About 5 million UK workers currently earn below that level. The latest figure is also well below the living wage, which is £8.80 per hour in London and £7.65 in the rest of the country. The Halal Food Authority, HFA, has explained which organisations it no longer certifies after a recent policy changed. It said that DB Foods, Frank Bird, Jack Brand and Crown Chicken are no longer certified by the HFA following the recent abandonment of the mechanical slaughter of poultry. A proposal by Britain's leading vet to ban halal and kosher slaughter in UK has sparked angry condemnations from the Muslim and Jewish communities, arguing that any such ban would endanger their religious freedoms. Controversy erupted after John Blackwell, the newly elected head of the British Veterinary Association, called for a ban on all forms of ritual animal slaughter. He demanded that the exemptions for Jews and Muslims over their methods of religious killing, which is enshrined in UK law, be ended, and ritual slaughter methods banned if both religions refuse to adopt what he termed more humane methods. Religious leaders pointed out that the way the majority of animals are slaughtered in the UK by the use of captive bolt before they have their throats slit often causes far more suffering and pain than ritual slaughter. A helicopter crashed in a wood in Gillingham, near the Suffolk town of Beccles. It happened close to Gillingham Hall, one of the homes owned by Lord Balliedmond, the richest man in Northern Ireland, with an estimated wealth of £500 million. The three other people in the helicopter have been named as pilot and co-pilot Carl Dickerson and Lee Hoyle, and the other passenger was Declan Small, who was employed by Norbrook Laboratories. Sky's Emma Birchley, who was at the scene, said it was unclear whether fog, which had affected the area earlier on Thursday, was a factor in the crash, which happened at around 7:30 p.m. Over the past few days, the fog has caused some disruptions. Thereby, unfortunately, this helicopter crash occurred. Britain's Shadow of Business Secretary Chuka Umunna MP said that if Labour Party comes into power this general election, British Bangladeshi Roshanara Ali MP will become the first Minister of the Cabinet. A fundraising event was organised for Roshanara Ali in central London Holborn Grand Connaught Rooms Hotel. This event was attended by Keith Vers MP, ex-Minister Frank Dobson, Jim Fitzpatrick MP, Gavin Brennan MP and many more Labour MPs. In the coming election, Roshanara Ali will be a candidate for Bethnal Green and Bow. There are also 3 other British Bangladeshi candidates: Camden Councillor Tulip Siddiq, Kingston University lecturer Dr. Rupa Haq and Barrister Anwar Babu Mia. This event was attended by British Bangladeshi locals and Labour supporters. Altogether, there were more than 600 guests who attended this event. Roshanara Ali expressed that she feels proud to be a British Bangladeshi MP and in future she would like to establish Bangladeshi community in the British society. With a huge celebration, T20 World Cup ceremony has started in Bangladesh. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, announced the opening ceremony. She said at the International Cricket Council event, Bangladesh T20 World Cup does not have an opening ceremony, but the Bangladesh Cricket Board (BCB) arranged the celebration concert to broadcast the beginning of the world event. The competition will begin on March 16th with Bangladesh facing Afghanistan. Dhaka, Chittagong and Sylhet will host 35 matches of the tournament, which will conclude on April the 6th. The Prime Minister also mentioned the vigorous efforts of the BCB and all the departments including the Finance Ministry, Youth and Sports Ministry and the Home Ministry to organise the event successfully. She openly welcomed the foreign players, visitors and spectators who came to Bangladesh for the competition. Those are the top stories of this week. Thank you for watching. Please join me again next week. Stay safe and Allah Hafiz.